A hospital in Gaza reduced to rubble. Journalists, doctors, civilians killed. Israel calls it a tragic mishap, but inside the IDF, fury erupts. International outrage grows, allies demand answers, and Israel's own streets swell with protest. At the heart of it all? Regret, rage, and a war losing its justifications. A deadly Israeli strike on Gaza's Nasser hospital has exposed deep fractures within Israel's military ranks, with soldiers reportedly furious at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's public expression of regret. The attack on August 25th killed at least 20 Palestinians, including 5 journalists, sparking both international condemnation and internal military discord. Channel 14, correspondent Halal Bitten Rosen reported hearing of significant anger in the Sayeret Givati unit over Netanyahu's regret for the attack, with troops hoping Netanyahu apologizes to the fighters instead. The outlet confirmed that Israeli soldiers verified the strike was approved and coordinated with senior command, raising questions about why the Prime Minister distanced himself from an operation his military had authorized. Netanyahu's office issued a statement saying, "Israel deeply regrets the tragic mishap at the hospital, but this characterization has drawn criticism from his own forces." The strike targeted the Nasser medical complex in Khan Yunis, killing health workers and journalists alongside other civilians. The Israeli military investigation has revealed serious procedural failures in the chain of command. Hebrew media reported that IDF Southern Command had only authorized a drone strike on what they claimed was a Hamas surveillance camera, but did not approve the tank shells that ultimately caused the deaths. According to reports from Israeli outlets, Golani Brigade troops first identified the camera, then spotted what they believed was a rifle scope, and urgently sought approval to fire. While a division commander authorized tank fire, Southern Command had not given permission for this escalation. Military sources told public broadcaster Khan that firing towards a hospital requires special authorization, sometimes from the regional commander or even the chief of staff. The investigation is now focusing on this approval chain that allowed the tank crew to fire 4 shells in total. Mariv newspaper reported,
"The strike was carried out by a tank crew that fired several shells, the first toward the hospital stairs and then apparently toward rescue teams arriving on site."
An Israeli security source called the incident
"A bad incident that should not have happened."
IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Ehiel Zamir has now ordered the probe expanded to scrutinize the approval process, including the timing of the attack and the type of munitions used. The IDF attempted to justify the hospital strike by claiming it was aimed at a Hamas surveillance camera. But this explanation has failed to satisfy critics both domestically and internationally.
An initial inquiry had found that troops from the Golani Brigade operating in Khan Yunis had identified a camera positioned by Hamas in the area of the Nasser hospital that was being used to observe the activity of IDF troops in order to direct terrorist activities against them.
However, the IDF offered no evidence to support this claim. Hamas Political Bureau member Bassem Naim challenged the assertion, telling the Associated Press,
"If this claim were true, there are many means to neutralize this camera without targeting a healthcare facility with a tank shell."
A senior Israeli security source told CNN that none of the 5 journalists killed in the strike were intended targets. Military spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani confirmed to Reuters,
"We can confirm that the Reuters and AP journalists were not a target of the strike."
The victims included Reuters cameraman Hussam al-Masri, Associated Press freelancer Mariam Daga, and Al Jazeera contributor Mohammed Salama. The military's explanation came on the same day hundreds of thousands of Israelis took to the streets in what organizers called a nationwide day of struggle, demanding a hostage and a ceasefire deal. Rally organizers in Tel Aviv estimated that more than 300,000 people attended, with protesters carrying Israeli flags and calling for an end to the war. Hamas has categorically denied Israel's account of the casualties. The group's government media office said in a statement that one of the 6 Palestinians Israel alleged were militants was killed in Al-Mawasi, some distance from the hospital, and another was killed elsewhere at a different time. Hamas also rejected Israel's camera claim as baseless and lacking any evidence.
This claim is merely aimed at evading legal and moral responsibility for a full-fledged massacre.
Nasser Hospital itself issued a statement saying,
"We categorically reject these claims and any claims made by Israeli authorities to justify attacks on hospital premises."
The hospital strike has triggered a wave of international condemnation, with world leaders calling the attack indefensible and demanding accountability. The UK government called the strikes indefensible, while the European Commission said it was completely unacceptable. UK Foreign Minister David Lammy said he was horrified by the hospital strike, writing on social media.
"Civilians, healthcare workers, and journalists must be protected. We need an immediate ceasefire."
Germany's foreign ministry called the attack shocking and demanded it must be investigated, while also calling on Israel to allow immediate independent foreign media access and afford protection for journalists operating in Gaza. The United Nations has demanded that Israel's investigations yield actual results. Tamim Al-Khitan, spokesperson for the UN's Human Rights Office, told reporters in Geneva,
"There needs to be justice. The Israeli authorities have in the past announced investigations into such killings. We haven't seen results or accountability measures yet."
The UN spokesperson noted that at least 247 Palestinian journalists have been killed in Gaza over the past 22 months. Meanwhile, tensions between France and Israel escalated when President Macron strongly rejected Netanyahu's criticism over rising anti-Semitism in France. In a published letter, Macron wrote,
"These accusations of inaction in the face of a scourge that we are fighting with everything in our power are unacceptable and are an offense to France as a whole. The fight against anti-Semitism must not be weaponized and will not fuel any discord between Israel and France. I solemnly appeal to you to end the desperate race of a murderous and illegal permanent war in Gaza, causing indignity for your country and placing your people in a deadlock."
A report by Action on Armed Violence revealed that 88% of Israel's investigations into war crime allegations in Gaza were shut down or left unresolved, suggesting what researchers called a pattern of impunity. As international pressure mounts and domestic protests continue, Israel faces growing calls for accountability while pressing ahead with plans for a massive assault on Gaza City that could take up to 5 months to complete.